My name is Clark, and I'm going to be reacting to But neopronouns, so like things like zer, zim, theirs, z, zer, theirs, fey, fair, fairs. There's a lot. And there's also like noun self pronouns, which I have mixed feelings about just because like kitten self, that puppy self, that whole thing. I have mixed feelings only because I have heard TikTok. I saw this video and it brought up some like good points, and I thought about it and I kind of agree. Like noun self pronouns, they act as like a method of dissociation, like from yourself, especially if you are someone who is gender variant in any way. You know, you are going to feel a certain amount of dissociation from the physical, because your brain is a little different than like what's going on. And so that can create dissociation, depersonalization, and noun self pronouns can further isolate because you're not referring to yourself with like a human pronoun. It's like an object, like a noun's objects and animals, and it kind of creates like an unpersonhood like further. So that's like my only thing with that. Neopronouns otherwise like they're fine in like different languages, you know, like some languages don't have necessarily specific third pronouns, and so these can be really helpful. They're not like real words in the sense like that they're embedded in any specific language really. So I think Germany doesn't really have specific third gender pronouns, and so like neopronouns are really helpful in that situation. And neopronouns have always existed. Like, I mean, neo just means new pronouns. Like back in Old English they were saying thou and thou art, what's the, there was like some other, I use he, him, they, them pronouns. I mean, in the future, I'm not gonna lie, I would really enjoy like some quirky, cute pronouns, because like I think that's interesting, and I feel like it's more expressive, and it's like more, I don't know, you know, just as like as we all let go on our gender journey, we figure out things about ourselves. And I have had a gender that's been constantly evolving since I was a wee toddler, and I just feel like eventually, and like the trans community is able to like kind of open up and expand and like become more recognized and like accepted in society, then my gender expression will likely like evolve with that, if that makes sense. Anyway. I'm going to start watching. I watched a little bit of it because I just did. I cannot watch his or like Blair White's videos or anyone very similar because it is so detrimental to the trans community, and they're passing it off as like, you know, we're helping and we're like educating cis people, when really they're just pushing an agenda that is disgusting. I will watch this now. I will likely skip through it. It's like 17 minutes long, and I'm sure he says the T slur a lot, so that's cute. Is that cute, Calvin, that you say the T slur when you call other people the T slur? Does it make you quirky? You're such a T slur. Anyway, okay.
About some discourse that has been rampant on TikTok. Man, I never thought I was gonna have to fucking talk about this whole thing again, because I feel like the trans community has
like, over and over
agreed.
Okay, wait. Hold on, I need to listen to this actually.
Collectively, that this is dumb and that we don't like it and that we don't support it, but somehow it's just...
Okay, he says, okay, this is something that really pisses me off. Disclaimer, I guess I'm not speaking for the entire trans community, the entire non-binary community, or anything like that. But I will say that if you are not having any hidden agenda, trans people overall just want to live and be themselves and be accepted and not be, you know, oppressed. And so, like, if a person, even someone who is not, okay, people who are not trans can use these pronouns also. Fully, like, it's, like, valid. He's, like, saying that the whole trans community just is agreed on multiple occasions that we don't like these neopronouns. They're not valid, sis. Like, no, I think that's a generalization of probably people in his own echo chamber, just like I'm kind of a product of my kind of personal echo chamber, because I'm not surrounding myself by trans medicalists and people who don't think that I would be valid. You know what I mean? I feel like cis people listen to a lot what he says because he's trans, same with Blair White, so they think, oh, these, like, white trans people, like, oh my god, they're so much like us, like, I get it, like, they hate the rest of them too, you know, it's very much that, so, anyway, okay.
Huge thing again. This discourse pops up every, like, year, every 3 years.
I just don't want to listen.
The idea of neopronouns. Now, disclaimer, I am transgender.
And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Disclaimer. You can trust my opinion. Because I'm one of the good tea-slurs. Anyway, I'm not trying to make fun of Calvin. Like, he's a guy. He's just a dude.
Guys being dudes.
Who makes hateful content on the internet. You know? Anyway.
Around there like, well, if you're... I hate Chinese.
The T-slur has been used specifically in a very trans misogynistic way towards specifically trans women, a way to dehumanize them. And so I mean, there's discourse on this specific thing, but I just feel like the way that Calvin uses it is just, like, extremely harmful and stupid. And it's the same when he, like, says the R word. Like, yeah, he says the R word.
They're basically pronouns. Now, you thought the trans community was done with they. You know, we
Okay, the trans community is never done with pronouns because, like, even Calvin misgenders trans people on purpose. Like, obviously, we have not gotten over pronouns, Calvin.
Hard for they. We normalized they, made it easier for non-binary people
that's true,
to have a wider range of people using gender-neutral pronouns. You think that would be good enough, right? No.
See, he's being an asshole for no reason. It's like when people are like, you guys got gay marriage. Isn't that good enough for you? It's like, that is one issue out of a fucking buttload of issues that are faced by the LGBTQ, the queer community, as I usually call it.
Because the trans community always wants to feel oppressed.
I'm so sorry. Talking about the trans community always wants to feel oppressed. It's like, bitch, we are oppressed. Obviously, my life personally isn't going to be as hard because I'm not a person of color. You know, I'm not physically disabled, so I'm not going to be oppressed in all those ways that other people would be. Calvin, like, you might be trans, but you are a white, straight male. So, obviously, he's faced oppression for being trans, but it's like the way that he talks about it so confidently, like, y'all just want to, like, feel oppressed. It's like, ugh. I hate to break it to you, buddy. We are oppressed.
Pronouns are basically this idea that people can go around using nicknames and other weird things as pronouns. I mean, I've seen everything. I've seen kittens.
Which I did talk about, and I kind of agree with him here. But I'm not gonna be like, you're fucking invalid, and you're not, like, really trans, and you're, like, trying to get oppression points. Like, no. I will use your fucking pronouns, whatever they happen to be. Like, I'm not, like, unlike some people, I'm not going to just misgender people for, like, no good reason. And, like, to be an asshole, to make a point. You know what I mean? Like, even if you don't think someone is being 100% with you, what are you gonna do? Misgender them? No thank you, Calvin. Some of us have self-respect.
That I've seen emojis used as neopronouns.
Okay, emojis, like, you can't say emojis out loud, so I would say that's kind of stupid too.
Discourse, right? It was like BLM self.
Okay. that is ridiculous. You don't take something like BLM, or I've seen people, people having discourse about Nazi self. Like, what? Like, obviously these are like, that is reprehensible, and BLM self. Like, you can't take a movement that is about the systematic oppression and police brutality against black people and be like, it's my pronouns. Deal with it. I'm so woke that BLM is my pronouns. So that's kind of ridiculous. Like, that's, I would say, might be racist.
I'm literally looking at, when I saw this dude, I'm like looking at this person's bio who's like so dead ass about using this pronoun, and I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, this is kind of
no,
racist.
He's got a point. Like, this is
think this is kind of fucking racist.
Yeah.
Like,
no, he's right.
You're using. Why do you care if people want to use emojis as pronouns? Why do you care if people want to use ACAB?
Okay,
as
so
their
here's something that he's doing. He is making a false equivalence. What he's doing right now is he's turning this very valid, very real thing, and he's playing up the aspects of it that are not like genuine, that are not like real, that are not practical, and he's making it sound like they're all the same. Like, so he's taking these so he can then say, and then listen to this. There's a Z's, or there's a ZZ with this X. It's all ridiculous. Like, he's setting his audience up, saying, doesn't this sound dumb? So that he can just like completely discredit the rest of it, which is actually like genuine, interesting language discourse and gender discourse, and he's turning it into something stupid.
Calvin, why do you care? It doesn't affect you, Calvin. It doesn't matter. Like, why do you care so much? What did they ever do to you? Can't you just respect people's identity, Calvin? You're such a piece of shit, Calvin. You hate on everybody. You bully children. And usually, when I see this discourse pop back up, I'm just kind of like, okay, this will go away soon. But my biggest...
See, for him it goes away soon because he isn't open to these spaces. He's not welcome in these spaces, I would argue. Because he is just so immediately, like, if it doesn't fit his, like, version of transness, which he does believe is a mental disorder. It just sounds like someone who doesn't like themselves. And then, because they're so hateful, they're not welcome in these spaces that are having these discussions, like, constantly, and are learning from each other constantly, so. This is high tech.
People on TikTok, of course, normal cis people. Because it's not just TikTok. Even trans people.
Normal cis people. Even trans people. Like, it's all about, like, how he's talking about it. Like, cis people aren't more normal. I mean, maybe that one cis person's more normal than me because I look like this sometimes. But it's, like, it's all about, like, how he's, like, talking and communicating it. It's, like, so his, like, predominantly, I'm assuming, cisgender audience can be like, yeah, us normal cisses, and you're a good one of the transes. You're a good T-slur. You know what I mean? It's just very much that.
Who are just like, they'll make videos and be like, no, this is fucking stupid. I know that it seems like it's not a big deal, guys, or that I'm bringing it up, but if you don't have TikTok, you understand why I'm making this video, because it's like all over the for you.
See, that's what I'm saying. And it's like, again, like, he's getting into these trans spaces on TikTok because he's trans, so he's probably liking things similar to him, and then as soon as some of the other community comes, the inclusive and better side of the trans community inserts itself into him, he can't help but, like, feel infuriated. Like, my side of TikTok is not all about these neopronouns and, like, but there are people in there who are accepting of neopronouns and will use them and explain them in a way that is not mean or is not, like, discrediting them, you know? Like,
just like this normal looking person.
See,
might be like,
this normal looking person, like, what is normal, Calvin? What is it?
Not this.
No, I'm not using your fucking weird ass kitten.
See, I mean, like,
go outside. No one's gonna call you that. We'll call you they.
Like, it's just kind of mean.
The point of a pronoun is to make a sentence easier, to flow better, right? So we're not just gonna go out and be like, Calvin went to the store because Calvin ran out of eggs.
Okay, so he doesn't even have, like, so far a real point. He said the purpose of pronoun. Here's the thing. Yes, in language and writing and, like, literature, the purpose of a pronoun is to simplify a sentence to make it clear what you're talking about. But the point of a pronouns, like, you use pronouns in language to refer to people, like, as they are. You know what I mean? Like, I am this way. I say, you will use he pronouns or they them pronouns. Those are the two pronouns that I will accept. If you use she pronouns, I will kick your fucking ass, or I will cry alone in my room, or I'll do both. He's just making all these like weird like statements that he's like in his head sounds right. Like, well, the purpose of a pronoun is to make things like easier for everyone. Like, yes, but also like I'm not gonna call you she, Calvin. Like, I'm not. And you know why? Because you are a man who identifies that way, and you identify with having he, him pronouns. I'm probably not going to call you they, them pronouns either, because that is not one of your pronouns that are specified. Because that's what you want. That's how you feel comfortable. Like, I'm not just going to start calling you she, her to be a fucking dick or to make a point about language being simple. I'm not going to call you it, it's, because that's not what you want me to fucking call you.
Because Calvin was trying to cook a cake for Calvin's brother.
And he's just being an asshole. Okay, also, yeah, if someone was to use their name as a pronoun, obviously it takes some getting used to, but once you do it and you get used to it, then it's just like how you talk and refer to that person. Who gives a fucking shit, Calvin? Who gives a shit, Calvin? Also, I know for a fact that Calvin is not going to be friends with anyone who uses these kind of pronouns. Anyway, so it's like, shut the fuck up, Calvin. Jesus Christ.
Pronouns in the first place. That's one of the reasons we have pronouns. The second reason that we have pronouns, okay, is to denote gender.
Okay.
I understand,
so
we need to erase gender roles, and it's a completely different scenario. Like, let's take, for example, when I was pre-T, pre-transition, flashback to 2015. Before I transitioned, most people were referring to me as she, using she pronouns. So when I came out, I started telling people, hey, I want to go by he pronouns. Even if you don't look 100% like a he or 100% what we denote as a man, people are respectful and will use that pronoun
he understands
while you're in the midst of transitioning, just to get more used to it, because eventually you are going to be presented.
Because he understands. He just won't do it because he doesn't think that people are valid. He doesn't think that other trans people's existence and problems and like realities are like valid. Obviously, like that's just all it comes down to. He'd probably I don't know. He'd probably call me she if he sees this video. Are you, Calvin? Think about your choices. I have a mustache, Calvin. I have a mullet, Calvin. What does that say?
So it's different for trans people when they ask people to call them by a pronoun, and it's just...
Okay, so like I said, he understands. He's like, it's different when a trans person asks you to call them a pronoun. Okay, but we're talking about trans people asking you to call them pronouns. So what is it about, Calvin? What is it about? She already done had hers, Calvin.
Respecting their identity, but these people don't identify as a fraud, even if you do identify as...
So that plays into the point of like, maybe they're having some kind of dissociation to personalization, but that doesn't give you any right, Calvin, to like be a fucking bitch about it.
You look fully as a girl, people shouldn't respect your pronoun, because obviously trans people are pre-transition at some point. Trans people aren't always going to...
See, it's about this binary of like pre-transition, post-transition, passing or not passing. Those are like the cis patriarchal ideas, Calvin. He's just stuck in one mindset. Like, he literally can't think outside his mindset, and I can think inside his. Like, I can understand how someone like me walking around, like, I live in Oklahoma, like, I get it. People look at you, people think, all those transgenders are crazy. They don't understand how gender works. And you might see that and think like, well, that's not a reflection on me, like I'm different. But really what we should be doing is opening up the perception of society to be like, who gives a shit of whatever I look like and whatever gender I am.
It's like, what do you mean by that? That is so dumb. And because
like his whole thing is like, it's dumb and I don't like it and it invalidates me, when it doesn't invalidate you, Calvin. You can still be an asshole and a trans guy and use he, him pronouns and live your life.
Accomplished by bringing up this neopronoun discourse by saying that people are transphobic if they don't do that. You're setting the trans community back.
No. What an asshole that he thinks non-binary people and people with like different ideas of gender and language are setting us back. Like, the only people setting us back are you closing us off from cis people, like, by calling us fucking ridiculous. Like, obviously, I kind of look ridiculous. I don't look like this all the time. I mean, the hair is now like this all the time. That doesn't invalidate, like, who I am. Like, cis people look ridiculous, too. I'm not gonna start calling them random shit, like, out of nowhere. Like, and, like, try to dehumanize them and, like, exclude them from humanity, like, from cis people. Well, you can't be cis. You're covered in tattoos. You can't be cis. You're bald. You can't be cis. You only have half your teeth. Like, who cares? Everyone's human. Everyone... Fucking... He makes me so mad.
Trans people. I have no problem with they pronouns. If you use they pronouns, that's super cool. I mean, I try to use they pronouns whenever I can if I don't know the gender of somebody until they specify what pronouns they go by. For pretty much anyone, but especially if I can't really tell what gender.
Unless you're a fucking trender. Calvin would call me a trender. Be honest, Calvin. Am I a fucking trender? Am I a trender? Hey, Calvin, am I a trender? Am I a gender trender?
I 100% think that there's some sort of psychological, biological, neurological factor that goes into people developing dysphoria, and there's some sort of, like, at-birth predisposition to eventually develop it. Okay.
I mean, I don't not disagree with that either. Like, I think that Calvin doesn't realize that there's a space for, like, both of these realities. Like, they're not exclusionary. Like, they definitely exist. Like, I feel like they exist together. Anyway.
Neopronouns.
Neopronouns.
Step back for the trans community. Yep. We already have a gender neutral pronoun.
Okay.
You're not even using it to denote your gender. I saw this one.
It's, again, like, there are so many different expressions of gender that you couldn't possibly know if that pronoun expressed their gender or not. Like, non-binary, like, isn't like one gender. It just means that you do not exist in the gender binary. You're not strictly male, you're not strictly female. That said, non-binary people can, like, I use he, him pronouns also. I am non-binary. I mean, I do like they, them pronouns. Why did I start doing, like, way more accents all of a sudden?
TikTok today. Let me put it on the screen.
Put it on the screen. Okay, transcription. So I really like neopronouns, and I want to try them out. I don't want them to be super common. Yeah, like, what's the problem with that? Like, literally, what's the problem? Obviously, neopronouns are not, like, widely accepted in all fields, but in more professional fields, they, them pronouns are becoming more, like, accepted. And it's only a matter of, eventually, like, I would really like to use the AE pronouns. I think it's A, airs. Like, honestly, I would really like that. I think it's fucking, like, who cares if it's fucking cool as shit? I want to be cool as shit. I also feel like it would just represent me really well. And maybe not in the future as much. Like, maybe I would stick to a different pronoun. I don't know. Who knows? But, like, why are you giving this person shit for just, like, look, there's 636 likes. Like, how many people are really seeing this TikTok? And, like, Calvin sees it and he has to throw a hissy fit and make a 17-minute video. Not like my video isn't gonna be long.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Like, this is what I'm talking about. You're just, like, using it as an aesthetic, as a trend. That's so stupid.
Like, maybe it's newer, and maybe more people are learning about it, and they're more interested in it. But like I said, neopronouns have been around. Neo just means new. Maybe not all of them are gonna stick, but maybe, like, in the next, say, 20 years, it will be, like, zism, zers will be, like, normal. And then what are you gonna say, Calvin?
Stupid. These are all, like, low-key, these are all low-key turf rhetoric.
Whoa.
It's all just turf rhetoric. It's like you went so far left that you started to go...
No, what is he even saying? I'm gonna keep playing it because I'm gonna see if he elaborates on that, but if he doesn't, then I will.
Back right. You circled back around. You made, like,
that's not
a huge circle, dude. Holy fuck. Here's why I...
Okay, wait, does he even... No, he doesn't even explain what he means by that, because he doesn't actually mean anything by that. He's just saying shit, and maybe he really thinks that. TERFs do not believe in trans identities. They believe specifically in a cis-normative world. They do not believe that they believe trans women are men, and they believe that trans men are butch women. How is expanding language to include different gender, like, non-specific terms turf rhetoric. Like, explain that, Calvin. You can't because it's stupid, and you didn't explain it because you're just like saying the garbage that is in your head without thinking it through. I don't think he's making any valid points. What he's saying is basically, I don't like it because I don't understand it. I don't identify with that gender experience, and so I'm going to say that it's invalid and not real, and it's actually hurtful to me. Even though the only reason it's really hurtful is because people like him shutting the rest of us out of the conversation and acquiring these mass, like, cis audiences who want to hear transphobia dispersed by a trans person, because it makes them feel like they're allowed to be transphobic. I feel like, honestly, the majority of society does not really care. And if more, like, binary, passable trans people say, yeah, it's real, who cares? Like, yeah, you should listen to people and address them how they want to be addressed. Like, I feel like it would be a lot easier for society to keep moving forward and accept all trans people, including you, Calvin.
When you're 15, you don't know fucking anything about the world. You don't really.
Fair.
You're in this bubble. You didn't get
Fair.
on Tumblr, so TikTok is like the new Tumblr. Telling people that they are transphobic for not wanting to use your ridiculous, nonsensical, non-logical,
Here comes fucking logic and facts and reason.
inherent neopronouns that are made up. By the way, gender's not made up.
Gender is made up. Doesn't mean it's not real. That's one of these things that a lot of these people don't understand. Just because I say it's a social construct doesn't mean that it isn't real in the sense that it exists and affects us every day, internally, externally. Same thing with, like I said, time. Our, like, human concept of time, first of all, again, it is socially constructed because different, like, cultures and different societies have interpreted time differently, which that shows you that it's like the same shit with units of measurement, like meters versus fucking inches. Like, it's all made up, but it doesn't mean that it's not real and doesn't affect us every day. Same thing with language. Language is completely made up. Like, obviously, like, how would language exist if somebody didn't start making that shit up? Language evolves and changes. Different communities have their own language. Language starts someplace, right? Like, it has to come from somewhere. Like, why can't the trans community and just, like, the queer community have their, like, language they decide amongst themselves, and they, like, all kind of feel it out, and then it slowly is dispersed to the above world of the cis people, and then it slowly becomes, like, normalized by, like, you know, all trans people, and then allies, and then fucking normies, okay?
Gender expression is made up. Gender is not a social construct. Gender expression is a social construct. They're two different things.
I think he's just confusing it a little bit, because gender expression is a social construct, obviously, right? But gender itself, like, if you're basing gender off of sex, sex is also a social construct. I mean, it's rooted in science, but science has evolved. It's very simplified to say there's only two, or even just three sexes. It's very complicated, and gender is the same way. How could it not be a social construct? Yes, you have one, like, you have an expression, you have a thing inside you that says this is who you are, and it has a lot to do with your internal feelings, but it also has a lot to do with social things, and the system we have set up, you have boy gender and you have girl gender, like, that's a construct. Indigenous American populations, like societies, like, they had specifically would have two-spirit and third gender built into their society, like, and that was a gender that was, like, real and recognized. But in our society, you know, the colonial, like, American white supremacist patriarchal society, there's two genders. Like, those are both social constructs. Doesn't mean that they're not, like, really, that they're not, like, real and affecting us, but they're not real in the sense that they're inherent. Gender is not inherent to the earth. Like, animals don't have gender. Animals have sex. Sorry. Animals have physical, biological sex, but that's also not a binary. Different species have different sexes. They don't have the same type of consciousness that we have that allows us to think, like, about our gender. Human society is different than other animal societies in that we have constructed an idea called gender that we all subscribe to in some way or another. It's just ridiculous to me that he's arguing with that, because, like, that's a fact. Like, look it up. Like, that is a fact. Facts don't care about your feelings, Calvin. Jesus.
Things. And by saying that gender is a social construct, you completely invalidate the idea that having gender dysphoria is inherent and it's something that you're born with, and that
isn't. Like, that doesn't mean that there isn't something to do with it that's outside of that, you know? Like, it's not, like, saying gender is a social construct does not invalidate the fact that you have a gender that is different than your assigned sex at birth. I don't see it where those ideas are competing. Things aren't, like, black and white like that, you know? It's like nature versus nurture. Yes, your nature has something to do with it, your biology, but your nurture also has something to do with it, aka society. Society, Calvin.
completely takes away from the validity of trans people. It completely takes away from the validity of medicalizing aspects of being trans.
Here it is, trans medicalism. Jesus Christ. I am a person who is a different gender than was assigned at my birth, and I have gender dysphoria, and I seek to have medical transition. That doesn't mean that gender isn't something constructed, but the fact that it is something constructed also means that I can go wherever I want within that construction, and I can alter my appearance and I can alter my biology to fit how I want to fit within the gender social construct. Like, I don't know.
Which is necessary. By telling people that they are transphobic for not using your neopronouns, almost 4 years on T and I'm still voice cracking, you're taking away from what actual trans...
And here it is. He's talking about actual transphobes and actual transphobia versus not actual transphobia. Like, there's a scale to everything, you know, but if someone doesn't use your correct pronouns, it is a microaggression against you, or it's kind of really aggressive. And even if it's weird and different, like, as long as you're surrounding yourself with people who care about how you feel and how you want to be perceived and, like, referred to as, then, like, I just don't see why he has literally such a big deal with it, like, honestly. He keeps talking about real trans people, but real trans people also use neopronouns, and real trans people also, like, fit the gender binary in different ways than you do, like, or without it. And it's just like he's really making like this statement of like, I am the only correct gender. Like, me and Blair White are the only two genders you can be besides cis, because cis people are normal and we're weird. It's like, fuck off. I don't know. It just makes me like so mad. At this point, I'm just kind of like defeated. I don't know if you can tell. Even if it was true that you needed dysphoria to be trans and you needed a transition to be transgender, there are still people who are not using he, she, they pronouns who are medically transitioning who do have dysphoria. And there are non-binary people like myself who have dysphoria and seek medical transition. Like, super black and white statements that are just like ignoring the actual like reality that there are just infinite amounts of gender experiences and gender expressions and ways that you go about the world in your like own gender. Like, I just can't fathom that this is a person who is transgender who just doesn't understand that there are other people who are transgender. You know what I mean? I'm gonna end it here because I've been filming for so long. I feel like I've said a lot and he's said stuff. And I think I'm gonna end it here. If you liked this video, you can like and subscribe.